Financially raw, real, authentic.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Financially Raw. I was away for a week, so the last time you heard me was about 2 weeks ago. I think it was 2 weeks ago. But welcome back, and I am so glad to be here with you and to share some thoughts with you. I know we've got quite a few listeners excited about our topic and our guest today. And without further ado, let me introduce you guys to our guest for today. And that is Garry Meston. Did I pronounce it correctly,
Yep,
Garry?
that's right.
Garry Meston from Leadburst Digital. So Garry, tell us a little bit about yourself. Welcome, firstly. And secondly,
Thank
tell
you.
us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, Lourens. Thanks for having me. So basically I'm a systems engineer, and strangely enough, I didn't follow through with my studies in terms of what I did, but somehow I got into the marketing game and it just made me tick. So what Leadburst Digital is basically a performance-based lead generation company. And essentially what we do is we generate leads and inquiries for businesses, basically connecting the customer to the supply.
Yeah.
And that's essentially our core business. We don't focus on any nonsense marketing, if you could call it that.
Yeah.
It's just pure performance.
Yes.
So anything that ties to your bottom line and what basically makes you money.
I think that's going to be, because when I met you, I think I did explain to you my thoughts on marketing,
Yeah.
social media marketers, and how I feel about it. And I think that's what attracted me to your business, is the way that you approach it. It's about how many leads can we generate for the client, not how many followers. And I know we'll talk about those.
Yeah.
You call it vanity metrics.
Yeah.
I think we'll still chat about that. So yeah, I'm glad to have you here. How long ago did you start your company, and what made you decide to start the company?
Yeah, it's funny. My wife keeps on bringing it up, but it was a week before our wedding. So yeah,
Right time to start a company.
typical something
Let me guess,
that I.
it's in COVID.
No, it was actually
okay.
just before COVID, 2019. So yeah, we've been going and chugging along for a while now. And what made me basically get into this industry, I've always been passionate about, we started off with a web design agency,
Yes.
doing SEO and all that kind of stuff. And we sold our shares in that company, and an investor actually came to me and said, listen, we would be interested in sort of going on a venture with you. And it's just I think all part of God's plan at the end of the day. But it was just basically I fell into this line, and I sort of grew into a passion. The first client that we ever onboarded was a property developer.
Okay.
And obviously, as you know, with property developers, they use Property 24 and all these kinds of portals. And we came along with a different approach with the social media marketing and all that kind of stuff. And, 7 or 8 months after that, the guy was sold out. Jeez. And we sort of said, well, the return on investment there was astronomical. So we thought, well, if we could do this for this guy, we can do it for someone else.
Exactly. You can
and
duplicate it.
we just basically branched out into different niches and all that kind of stuff. And now we sort of refining things. So we've opened up our doors to pretty much anyone, and we've learned from the whole process. And now we slowly but surely learning where we sort of good at, generating leads, and where we're not so good. So yeah, it's been a great journey. It's a lot of hard work, a lot of long hours, but a beautiful industry to be in.
Okay, especially when you see the results.
Yeah.
I think that's almost where I was, is where you keep pumping money into marketing and you're not seeing any results, and you get this, now it will come. You must first build the audience, but we'll get to that. So tell us a little bit about the topic for today. You said it's the importance of having an effective lead generation strategy for small businesses. Expand a little bit on why that is so important.
Yeah, definitely. So we speak to multiple businesses on a daily basis, and I would say 90% of businesses don't actually have a budget in place.
Yes.
A marketing budget, which I think is actually essential for any business, whether you B2B or B2C. So having a marketing budget is, the baseline of anything. And yeah, so a lot of people don't know how much to spend on marketing, and it sort of leaves us where we say, okay, we're going to quote you this amount, and they sort of fall off their chair because they didn't expect it. Usually, as a rule of thumb, you're sort of looking at around 5 to 10% of your monthly revenue should be put towards marketing. And as you grow over time, that will grow with you. But I mean, most of the people we speak to, they say we get referrals and all that kind of stuff, which is amazing. I mean, that is probably the best marketing approach because it's the best quality that can come through. But it's unpredictable. I mean, what if that dries up? What do you do? And that's where we sort of get people inquiring through our business saying, well, our referral base is sort of dried up now. What's the next steps kind of thing? And yeah, so I think having a marketing budget and being as proactive as possible in terms of generating leads on a consistent basis, I think it's essential for any business.
Yes. Okay, so I'm looking forward to expanding on that. We've got a lot to talk about. So, as per usual, we'll have some music breaks, and it is Garry's choice today, and you've got a nice choice of classics. I love it. So while we are doing the music breaks, those of you on our social media, we unfortunately can't play the music on social media, so we will be playing one of our oldest shows, which is all about minimizing your risk. So you can look at that, or you can go make yourself a cup of coffee while we're having a music break. As per usual, if you have any questions and you are listening on Berg Studio, you are welcome to press the shout out button at the top, and you can communicate with us directly in studio. If you are on one of our social media channels, please do not comment or ask questions directly, because I don't have access to all the social media channels. I mean, we stream live to YouTube, to LinkedIn, to Facebook, onto different Facebook pages. So on screen, you will see the WhatsApp icon with my WhatsApp number in studio. It's 082-801-6693. So if you have a question, you can WhatsApp me directly in studio, and we will be happy to answer your questions for you. Saying that, let's go for our first music break. And those of you on our social media channels, we are going to watch that video on how to minimize your risk.
Financially raw, real, authentic wisdom with Lourens from Retire Rich and Happy.
So I'm looking forward to today's show, sharing some wisdom with you. And last week we started discussing the 5 steps to retire rich and happy. The 5 steps just quickly being: invest in yourself. Step 2, minimize your risk. Step 3, become an entrepreneur. Step 4, invest in income generating assets. And step 5, pay it forward. So today we're going to talk about step 2, minimize your risk. And we're going to talk about why do people not focus more energy on or focus on minimizing their risk, and why it's important to do so when you start building your financial security. Fricky says, good morning, all looking forward to the show. Thanks, Fricky. Thanks for listening as per usual. Yes, guys, so if you do want to engage, want to make a comment or ask me some questions, you are welcome to. You can go onto the shout out button on the browser, click there, and we will immediately get your message, and I can respond to that. Also, you can follow us on Facebook, Retire Happy. Also on Instagram, I Retire, and then on YouTube, all of these shows gets put onto our YouTube channel, so you are welcome to go and watch any of these shows. We're going to talk about step 2 of our process or our 5-step process to retire rich and happy, which is minimizing your risk. Now, there are lots. I mean, you can go Google or go search books on financial wellness or financial wealth or creating wealth, and there's all of these experts and gurus that tell you what to invest in and how to build passive income and how to create wealth and all of these things. But it's very difficult to find somebody that actually explains why it's important for you to minimize your risk. They sort of just glance over it and they don't really talk about it. And the reason for that is that the whole thing about minimizing your risk is not glamorous, it's not exciting, it's not this that gets the blood boiling and we go, oh, we're going to make so much money. It's so mundane and boring in certain aspects. So, but I would put an argument together that it is probably more important to make sure that this part of your financial plan is in place than it is initially to determine exactly what you're going to invest in and how you're going to grow your money. Because it doesn't matter what plans you have. You might have the best investment plan in the world. You might have the best business plan in the world. But if you start putting these steps in place or this plan in place and something unforeseen happens, you get into a car accident, you get a stroke, any of these things that could happens, and you haven't placed things in place or put things in place to make sure that you are sorted out and your life can continue in the same manner as you were used to, none of these plans will come to fruition. Everything falls flat. So minimizing your risk is the foundation of your financial plan. It is the core that you first have to build. You can build the greatest mansion on earth. I can start here, take a grass and just start putting bricks down and start building this massive mansion. Have the greatest plans drawn up by an architect of what this plan or what this building that I'm going to build is going to look like. But if I haven't laid a solid foundation to build on, how quickly or how long do you think that building will last? How quickly is it going to fall apart? So without a solid foundation, your building, your financial building that you are creating over the next 10 years will not be there for very long. Because if one of these things happen, everything fall apart if you don't have your building blocks in place. So why don't people want to look at their risk? Why is there so many people who are completely under insured? And I think I've boiled it down to three reasons why people don't want to look at their risk. The first thing is that people have this idea that it won't happen to me. So it happens to everybody, or it can happen to anybody else, but it's probably not going to happen to me. I wouldn't get into a car accident, or I'm not going to get a stroke. I'm healthy. Or the best one that I hear so often when I talk to clients and we start doing a risk assessment for them is, I'm not planning on dying soon. Now, I've never heard or very seldom heard anybody plan that they are going to die soon. Welcome back, everyone, and those of you on our social media, you were watching our video on minimizing your risk. If you want to see more of that video, we obviously can't play the whole one. You are welcome to go to our YouTube channel. Just search for I Retire on YouTube. All of those videos are on there. I think we've got over 300 educational videos on there. You're welcome to go and watch that video. And if you want to watch this video again at a later stage, you are also welcome to go to our our YouTube channel. And when you get there, please like and subscribe. The more followers we have, the more audience we create, the more people get access to the content that we create. So when we left, Garry and myself were talking about having a marketing budget and the importance of that. And that is something I've seen in my business as my business grow, how difficult it is to create a marketing budget, because there's that sense of uncertainty when it comes to marketing. When you start a business, you need office space, you need some place to work from. And if I spend 2,000 or 5,000 Rand, I know I've got my office. If I need a telephone, if I spend 2,000 Rand, I've got my telephone. But then when it comes to marketing, if I spend 5,000 Rand, am I going to get anything for it or not? So it's very difficult for people, especially when you start your business. But one thing I always say to people is, you've mentioned word of mouth advertising. And it's the most valuable way of doing business, but it's not scalable. You can't scale word of mouth. You can't scale referrals. So if you want to take your business from one level to the next level, you actually have to find some kind of marketing plan. Do you see it as well with guys that they're trying to build a business from word of mouth, but they can't get past a certain point because it's not scalable?
Absolutely. So, I mean, on the back of what you mentioned there in terms of risk, so the way that we've positioned our business is basically we charge clients per lead, so there's no retainers with our business.
Yeah.
So if we don't generate any leads for you, then we don't get paid. And that's essentially, we're basically putting ourselves on the line there in a sense, and we're taking on some of the risk. And I don't see any sort of other agencies doing something that's really similar.
They're not.
And yeah, so from that point of view, I mean, that helps mitigate the risk for the client. And then secondly, we've also got a guarantee that we also say, listen, if you don't start seeing returns after 3 months, so run with us for 3 months. If you don't start seeing a return on your investment, then we will work for free until you do.
Okay.
So we basically, putting ourselves on the line again.
Yeah. Put your money where your mouth is. It's not a lot
yeah.
of marketers or people that do lead generation that's willing to do that, I must tell you, and I've spoken to a lot.
Yeah. So the thing is so we're trying to mitigate as much risk for our clients as possible. So I hope that sort of covers up that sort of grey area. You've got your office. So if you've got a good marketing strategy, it's only in our best interest to make money out of that.
Yes.
I mean, we're a business. We don't do stuff for free. So the thing is that we need to make money as well. So we are going to make it work.
Exactly.
It's only in our best interest.
But that's the thing, is I've always said, if there has to be a vested interest, and some of the experiences I've had with marketing companies in the past is they get paid whether I get anything or not. So I sat with one marketing person a couple of years ago, and I said, you know what, you get paid. This is the amount of money that I've spent on you. When do I get paid? Because you haven't generated one lead for me out of everything that I've spent. When do I get paid? Because end of the month, you send that bill, but you don't look at when I get some money into it. And I think that's what I appreciate from the way that you do it. I think one of the things I want you to just explain to the listeners, those whose ears popped up when you said you don't get paid until they get leads. Just explain what the cost breakdown is, because obviously you can't spend 20,000 Rand a month on behalf of the company for advertising on Facebook or doing Google AdWords and things like that, and then say to the client, just pay us for the leads. That's not, otherwise you're going to have to charge them a massive amount per lead. So just explain what the different costs involved is, and what you guys do on a pay per lead basis, and what you guys do where the client has to invest some funds.
Yeah, great question. Thanks for that. So, I mean, I don't know if it's a South African thing, but it's almost like when someone has skin in the game, then they start taking things a bit seriously. Whereas if they're getting stuff for free, usually it doesn't get taken seriously. So the model that we created is what we call a hybrid pay per lead model. Now, with any marketing strategy, you've got what we call an ad spend portion, and then another side, which is a management portion. Now, the management portion is how a company like mine basically makes money. Okay, if we do a good job, we get paid well. If we don't do a good job, we don't get paid well. Now, ad spend is basically, so I'll sit with you, Lourens, and say, listen, what are you comfortable with spending on a monthly basis in terms of ad spend? So ad spend is basically the money that we have to pay Facebook and Instagram are the same thing, and Google or wherever we're going to run these ads. And you say, okay, I'm happy with spending $3,000 or $5,000 a month. Let's start off with that. So what we do is, on our side, we go ahead and build everything for you on your behalf. We don't charge you upfront fees or anything of those sorts. And essentially what we do then is we take that money that you've allocated, the $5,000 or whatever, we pump it into the system, and we start generating leads from that system. Okay, we send those leads to your sales team or to yourself or whoever's doing the sales, and then obviously we bill you per lead that is generated from that machine. Now, on the back end of that, a very important thing I need to mention is obviously lead quality. Because, I mean, it's one thing me generating you leads, but what if those leads are the totally wrong person to speak to wrong demographic.
They don't convert to sales.
They don't
at all.
convert.
You just give them numbers.
Exactly. So we've got various softwares that we can put in place. If we're doing, for example, an on Facebook lead form, they've got built-in systems where you can conditionally format a form, and what that does is it will either kick someone out if they answer a question incorrectly. We've also got another software that we use on websites and landing pages, and essentially what that quiz does is it also segments people out. So if they're not a good fit, and I mean, just as an example, it could be what suburb do you live in? And if they choose other, if it's not on the list and they choose other, then it could potentially kick them out because we don't serve those other sort of
areas,
suburbs.
yeah.
And the same goes with, for example, how much do you earn per month? So on Facebook, we can't ask that question, but on a landing page, we can.
Yes.
So for financial advisors, that question is very important because they want to deal with someone who earns, let's say, more than 25 grand a month.
Yes.
Specific target audience. And then what we'll do is we'll segment people out based on how much they earn. And then that's how we pre-qualify leads.
Yeah.
So it's a fine line. A lot of clients want volume, but they also want quality. So our job at the end of the day is to increase that volume as much as we can while maintaining that quality.
And that's something I appreciated when I started working with you as well, is the fact that you are willing to negotiate and discuss what a quality lead means to me. Because a quality lead to me is not necessarily what you would look at as a quality lead. And you're not trying to just give me leads so that you get paid. You really want to give us quality leads.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I've had calls with insurance brokers that only want the premium individual. That's a totally different demographic to potentially, what a standard financial advisor would want, for example.
Yes.
So yeah, you're 100% right. The needs do change, and we sort of try to mold the system to exactly how you want it to work. Because it's pointless us sending you leads, but they don't convert.
Exactly.
Because at the end, then I end up starting to work for free after 3 months if you don't close anything.
Yeah,
so
because
it has to work.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Or you're going to do the work, you're going to get a little bit of money in the first 3 months, but you're never going to build more.
Yeah.
I mean, the first 3 months will always be just the foundation laying.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the relationship. The relationship is actually built after those 3 months because the trust and everything. And you're just going to keep getting new people on, working with them for 3 months, then they fall off, then you get new people on. You can't build from your side a sustainable business that way either. You spoke about vanity metrics, and this is one of my pet hates as well. Tell the listeners a little bit about what you mean with vanity metrics, and that is not what you guys chase. You're not there to build these vanity metrics for clients. Explain a little bit more about that.
Yeah, look, the thing is there's, our agency is built on performance. It's, we want to track how much money you've made from what we've done. With a vanity metric, it's almost like impressions, reach, likes. It doesn't actually form into cash. Now, when you think about spending money on marketing, it should be that you're making money from it. That's the whole purpose of marketing, is you're getting some sort of return. Now, I jump on calls all the time with people that say, I've got such a bad taste in my mouth dealing with marketing companies.
Yes.
What makes you different? And, they go through this interrogation sort of sessions. And the thing is that a lot of agencies sell vanity metrics, and the reason for that is because it's easy to do. I mean, all you're doing is we got this much reach. Okay, what does that mean? How do we drill down from there?
Yes.
Whereas when we send a report to a client, we say, okay, we spent 5 grand, we got 50 leads, the cost per lead was 100 rand. This is the reach. That's all the vanity stuff on the back end of that. But then the client can sit down and say, okay, we got 100 leads. How many sales did we actually get from that? So they go and talk to their sales team and they say, okay, guys, from our Facebook campaign, what is the revenue that we got from these leads? And then they start analyzing the actual cost and the return side of it.
Exactly.
And that's essentially how this all works. So it's an actual thing. It's almost like running a billboard. How do you know that someone walking into your store or someone who phones you or whatever is from that billboard? It's basically, it is in some way impossible to know. Whereas here you are 100% certain. You know that sale came from a Facebook lead or a Google lead or something like that. And that's essentially where we sort of drill down is on that performance side. And so we work quite closely with sales teams. We've dealt with so many sales teams and companies that don't actually have systems in place, and we've sort of helped them grow into systems and have proper things in place. Because, for example, a Facebook lead is very time sensitive. So you can't have a salesperson that only contacts that lead tomorrow. That it just doesn't work. Those people don't end up picking up the phone. They say, oh no, I got someone else. So it's very extremely time sensitive. So where, for example, Facebook leads works exceptionally well, it's very honed in sales teams, call centers, all that kind of stuff where they can pick up the phone and just smash out calls. And that's essential in this whole ecosystem. It's not, it doesn't just stop at the lead. And that's, so our guarantee is tied to terms and conditions. And those terms and conditions are, do you have a good system in place to track what your sales team are doing?
A lead conversion system.
100%. And then secondly is, how long does it take your salespeople to phone these people? Because, if you're only phoning them 3 days after they've inquired, you can't tell me that the leads are bad quality, because it's because the whole ecosystem's broken.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what we sort of also dive into with a lot of our clients, because they've never really done this before. They've never actually experienced 20 inquiries in a day kind of thing.
Exactly.
And now it's just a change in mindset, a change in systems, and coming up with the right systems for people to use in their business so that they can maximize this as much as possible.
Yeah, what you're talking about is so important. It's what we teach small business owners as well, is 3 core systems that you need in your company. A lead generation system, and it's not just word of mouth. You need a proper lead generation system, and you need a lead generation system that you can track. That's the beauty of what you do. You can literally track it to the cent of what you've spent, what you've earned. And secondly is then a lead conversion system. It's pointless to get leads in, but you're not converting it because you're not getting to it, or you don't have the capacity. So you need to have that. And then the third one is the client fulfillment system, is actually keeping your promises to the clients. Because if you don't have that, you're not going to get repeat customers, and you're not going to keep that customer. So it ties into that so beautifully. Tell me, Garry, if they want to get hold of you, those of you on social media, you would see Garry's details are on screen the whole time. So you are welcome to send him an email or give him a call, go to his website. Those of the people that are listening on Berg Studio that can't see the screen, where can they get hold of you?
So my website address is www.leadburstdigital.co.za. Sorry. Well, you can get me on .com as well.
Okay.
That's probably going to be the best route to contact me.
Okay.
I'm most responsive on email.
All right.
But having a look at our website, you can get a very good feel in terms of how it all works, and have a look at the results we've received with our past clients. You can have a look at all of our testimonials, what clients have said about us. So it just will give you a bit more trust in terms of
what you guys do,
what we do, and how we operate.
Awesome. Okay, so keep your pen and paper ready. If you didn't have time to write it down now, just after the break, we will give you that website address again. Those of you listening on Berg Studio, we're going for another music break. Again, those of you listening on our social media, we're going to continue with that video on minimizing your risk. If I had a rand for every time somebody told me, I'm not planning on dying soon, I would be a very, very rich guy. Guys, this happens to people. It happens to everyone. At some point in time, something bad is going to happen. And I know that sounds morbid, but that's the reality we have to face. We can't go through life with, it won't happen to me attitude. Because what if it does happen? You have to make sure that you have your building blocks in place, your foundation is solid, that when things go wrong, you are sorted out and you are covered for that. It is like a parachute. If you don't have your parachute the day that you actually need it, you're probably never going to need that parachute again. So you can't say, well, I'll sort it out when the need arises. You need to sort it out before the need arises. You can't then. You know how many times I've heard of people that we had a client the other day that phoned and said that they've now been diagnosed, or a friend of theirs have been diagnosed with cancer, and they have to go for a specific operation to remove the tumor. Can we put them on medical aid? Because they urgently need to have this operation. Now, guys, there's no way that they will put you on a medical aid and immediately cover you for that. Which means for at least a year, that person has to live with that problem to get it sorted. At least. So by the time you need it, it's too late to do anything about it. So don't think about or don't tell yourself that it won't happen to you. It will, or it can happen to all of us. One of the discussions I've had with clients before is say to them, you know what, the reality that I have to face is if I have 1,000 or 2,000 or 5,000 clients, I know for a fact that some of those clients will die every year, and we're just looking at one area now. And how do I know, or how would you know that you are not that client? Because some of my clients will die, and all of them are in the same kind of spectrum, the same middle class, upper middle class kind of clients. So how do I know it's not you that will die this year, or become disabled, or get cancer, or have a car accident, or any of these things? So you can't go through life thinking that, oh, well, it won't happen to me. The second reason why people don't sort out their risk is because risk is a grudge purchase. People don't like to pay for risk because in a certain sense, it almost feels like you're just throwing money into this black hole where it's never going to come back to. It will never come back to you. And in a certain sense, that is exactly correct. The money that you pay towards risk is what we call what-if money. It's money you pay a third party for in case something happens to you. It doesn't build an asset. It doesn't create anything unless the eventuality that you are insured for actually happens. Guys, it doesn't matter what the marketing guys try and sell you on we're going to give you your money back, or give you some of your premiums back in a certain amount of years, or we'll give you this bonus or this retirement plan included in your risk policy. That is all built into the costing. It's just your own money. So I've got a very big problem with. Welcome back, everyone, and that was our music break. And those of you on social media, you are watching our video on minimizing your risk. And if you want to watch the rest of that video, go to our YouTube channel, I Retire. You can find all the videos there. You can just search for minimizing your risk. Before the break, I said you must keep your pen and paper ready so that Garry can just give us his email address or his website address again. So please write it down, then you know where to get hold of Garry. Garry, just give us that email address again, or that website again.
Perfect, thanks, Lourens. So it's www.leadburstdigital.co.za. That's LEADBURST digital.co.za.
Okay. Those of you watching on social media, you will see the contact details on screen the whole time, so anytime you want. Also, if you have any questions for Garry or give us any examples of money that you've spent on marketing and your success rate, you are welcome to send us a message through Berg Studio. Just press the shout out button. You will be able to chat to us in studio, or send us a WhatsApp on my number 082-801-6693. So Garry, before we went on to our music break, we spoke about the vanity metrics and how they almost, I call it bullshit baffles brains. They give you all these massive figures. Oh, 1,500 people saw your video. but it doesn't mean anything because it doesn't bring any money in. Tell us a little bit of how should an effective lead generation strategy work? How do you guys go about in making sure that it's an effective lead generation strategy for clients?
Yeah, great question. Thank you. So an effective lead generation system, what we basically do is we sit with the client and we flesh out exactly what their business does. We look at their USPs and all of that kind of stuff. And what we do is then we create offers based off of what they can offer. And what I mean by that is we've got to look at hooks. We've got to create hooks. We've got to create marketing messages that we think will resonate with the end users. So just off the back of that, we are a B2C, business to consumer based marketing agency.
Okay.
We don't do B2B, business to business. Okay. So we focus on the end consumer. So that's the market that we understand. So when I speak about what the end consumer is going to resonate with, that's essentially what I'm referring to as you and me, the average Joe on the street. So essentially, we flesh out exactly what this company can offer, and we beautify it. So I mean, if you clean floors, you've got to make it beautiful to obviously resonate with someone.
Exactly, yeah.
So I mean, if you're going on a Google route, there's not really much beautifying needed. Basic search on Google and your ad pops up. Obviously, you want to maybe say that your SA is #1 cleaning company or something like that. But on Facebook, it's a different sort of ball game in the sense that you have imagery, you've got copy, you've got a whole bunch of different things that sort of tie into this.
Yes.
And so what we do is we then build out the copy around that ad so that we try to bring in people. So the whole purpose of it is to get people to click on that ad. So whether it's an on Facebook lead form where they fill out their details on Facebook, or we send them to an external landing page, we essentially need that click. That's the first sort of starting point. So if we have a look at our click-through rates and stuff on the ads, we can very easily tell, is this ad doing well or not? Because if it's got a very low click-through rate, then obviously it's not resonating with the end user.
Yes.
And there's multiple things that we sort of have a look at. Is it the right target audience? It might not just be the ad. Is it because we're just targeting totally wrong people?
Yeah.
Usually it's not the case, and it would possibly be the offer. So what we do
Or
is
the audience just too small?
Could
that
be,
there's
yeah.
not enough people?
Yeah, I mean, we've encountered many clients that say, okay, we only want to target this sort of small radius and all that kind of stuff, which is fine. But one thing people need to be cognizant of is that the larger the broader the audience that you're dealing with, the cheaper the lead. Okay, and then the smaller the audience, the more expensive it is.
Okay.
So as soon as people come to me and say, I only want to deal with attorneys, accountants in, let's just say, Randburg, then I sort of stop and it's not really going to work like that.
Yes.
Unless you're happy to spend 500 or 1,000 Rand a
Per
lead.
yeah.
Let's maybe have a look at this stuff, because at the end of the day, as I said, it all boils down to getting good quality, but also volume, because it needs to work in unison. So that's stuff that we look at. So what we do is a lot of clients off the bat say, how many leads can I get for $5,000? If we've been in the industry already, we can very easily pull past data and say, listen, okay, based on this sort of radius and this target audience and whatever, you're probably looking at 100 Rand or 50 Rand or whatever it is. But if it's a niche or a vertical that we haven't touched before, we can't give you that data. We don't have it. Okay. So what we do is we usually run a campaign for a month and we get sort of like base data. And we say, okay, in the first month we generated leads and they came out at 50 Rand. Okay. So that's going to be our base data. How can we make that better?
Yes.
So what we do then, and I'll use financial advisors because I really enjoy the industry, and you're in the industry as well. So financial advisors, let's just say a life cover option that we're running on Facebook. Basically, what we'll do is essentially we started off with, let's say, 1 million Rand. We would say get life cover for 1 million Rand. Then what happened is the guys would phone me and say, but I'm talking to a very low end sort of demographic individual. We don't really want to deal with that. So by changing the ad, and what we did was, instead of making it 1 million, we made it 10 million rand life cover. So now you're actually resonating with a totally different demographic.
Exactly, yeah.
So the person who thinks 10 million rand's ridiculous, he's just going to scroll past. It's not for me.
Yeah. Why would I need 10 million life cover?
But the guy that actually has 10 million life cover, but he knows what he's paying, and we're saying we can get you 10 million life cover for 700 bucks or whatever it is, then that's obviously a different ball game. That's where we're starting to play in now. And essentially what that means is we can now get good volume, but also good quality on top of that.
Okay. Yeah, so, and you build that whole system for the clients.
Yeah.
Even if people clicking has to go to their website, you will help them build that landing page, and all of that gets done by you. Yeah. Also, if I understand it correctly, if you start running an ad, it doesn't mean that now you've agreed to that campaign, and whether that campaign generates leads or not, you're stuck with that campaign. You will adapt along the way.
Absolutely. So in the industry, you've got what we call pure pay-per-lead agencies. And essentially what that means is you only pay for the leads that you get. There's no ad spend portion, and it's quite expensive. But the thing is, with a pure pay-per-lead agency, what they do is they're in full control of everything. The copy that goes out, the ad that goes out, everything. Okay. They're in full control. And you don't have any say in terms of what you want the ad to read or anything like that. Usually it's through, let's say, a page that they've created, a brand that they've created, and they just sell the lead to you. So it's almost like in and out, in and out, in and out. Whereas with us, we latch onto your brand. The ads that we are running is through your brand, so it helps get your brand out. And essentially that's where it makes it slightly different. Is you say, Gary, we've got a brand new insurance product that we've just launched. Can you create a campaign for that?
Yes.
And we go ahead and we start creating that campaign for you, because at the end of the day, it's only in our best interest that you succeed. So, and we're also very malleable to what you sort of need.
Yes.
So if you say, let's stop life cover and we need to do like an education benefit sort of plan or whatever it is, then we stop that and we move over to an education plan.
And also, I think that's where your expertise and guidance comes in, because it's also a balance that needs to be struck. You can't every 2 days say, this ad's not working, let's do a new ad. This ad doesn't work, let's do a new ad. So I'm sure you guys guide clients and say, whoa, just give it time. It will start.
Yeah, it is. It is based on time. We need data. And you know, when you're dealing with, let's say, a $5,000 budget a month, if you break it down on a daily basis, it's like 133 Rand a day. When you break that down into dollar basis, it's not even $10. So, yes. I mean, Facebook's basically sniffing at that and saying, like, you know, what are you guys even trying? But the thing is, you know, we do help the small guys, and we're not going to turn away the small guys. So we need time to get the necessary data. To get lots of data very quickly, you've got to spend a lot. And that's the facts of it.
Yes.
So we might have to run a campaign for 7 days to see if it's actually working correctly at 133 Rand budget, because that's the sort of situation we're in.
Exactly.
It's not good to make decisions too quickly, especially with advertising. You've got to make informed decisions, give it time, let it do its thing. Because remember, you're also working with an algorithm. That algorithm's working with you. Now, it's only in Facebook and Instagram's best interest to get you the best results possible. Yes. Because you wouldn't use their platform if you don't.
It's the same as you. If you don't generate the leads, then people are not going to use you. Same with Facebook. People will stop advertising.
100%.
Now they've got millions where we talk about hundreds. But it's the same thing, it's just a different scale.
Yeah, so I mean, when you start running an ad on Facebook and Instagram, you'll see that it'll say learning phase and all that kind of stuff. You've got to allow that thing to now learn. It's the algorithm doing what it needs to do in order to try hone you in to where it thinks that this is where this campaign needs to go. That takes time.
With the campaigns that you run, you don't have the campaign doesn't come onto a person's timeline once. It comes on multiple times. So how does that work?
Yeah,
Because
so,
if sorry, I'm interrupting you
Sorry.
now, but if you look at a lot of people, they see something and don't react immediately. We just scroll. I mean, we very much mindless drones at this point.
Yeah.
We just scroll and scroll and scroll. And the first time you'll scroll past, you won't see it. The second time, the third time, the fourth time, it might start reacting in your brain. Oops.
Yeah.
Do you arrange it in that sense that a person sees it a few times?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and I don't think all of us sort of know the answer to that, because it's almost like the KFC recipe. If you knew it, you'd replicate it, kind of thing.
Yes.
But it all boils down to the algorithm. So, for example, I'm a huge car fan. So whenever I see like an old Beetle or something on the classifieds that pops up on my timeline, I stop, I have a look, okay? And then you'll find I scroll again, and then another Beetle comes up.
And it's also say, ooh, okay, I see what he likes.
Yeah, absolutely. So the thing is that whatever you stop on and you sort of having a look at and whatever, I think Facebook picks up on that sort of behavior. But then secondly, when you sign up to Facebook, you obviously tick terms and conditions, and you've opted into all of these different things that you don't actually know about.
You don't read your terms and conditions?
I don't have time to. but yeah. So essentially, what that means is you've got pixels that are running on most websites, what we call a Facebook pixel or Google Tag Manager,
that's an
or
interesting one.
something like that. So
we need to explain pixels.
no problem.
Okay,
Cool.
yeah, go.
So essentially, what that is why you would put a pixel on your website is so that you can track the data of what that person did through your site. Did they convert? What did they basically do? You tracking events and all that kind of stuff. But that data is getting fed back to Facebook. Okay, now Facebook's building up data on you based on what you do on other websites.
Yes.
So if I go onto the Momentum website, the Old Mutual website, the Discovery website, then what Facebook's saying is, okay, this guy's obviously interested in insurance products, so let me start showing him insurance ads. And if they maybe stop at the ad that I'm running and they have a look at it, but they don't click and they keep on scrolling, there might be a good probability of them seeing that ad again, because Facebook might show it to them to say, hey, remember this thing. So that's, in a nutshell, why I think that all happens. We don't control that. I leave it up to the algorithm. Let Facebook do its thing.
Yeah.
You get all of these gurus online that say, let's hack the pixel, let's hack this, let's hack that. I'm saying nonsense. Just let Facebook do what it does best, because that's the data machine. Work with it.
Yeah.
You're paying them for them to do their job.
Yes.
You don't want to do their job for them. Yeah.
And trying to, it's like trying to stock pick when you do investments.
Yeah.
You can't jump from the one to the other the whole time. Let the market do what the market does.
Yeah.
And that's very similar. I mean, this is what these guys do. And again, they won't, if their algorithm is not working, not getting the right ads in front of the right people, then they won't sell ad space.
Yeah,
which
you're
means
not going to
their revenue
spend
will
there.
drop, and they will very quickly get their team of programmers to fix that algorithm.
You'll go spend on LinkedIn and Twitter and other places, and you'll leave Facebook and Instagram if it's not working.
Exactly. Talking about that, what is your favorite platforms to do marketing and create campaigns on? Does it differ from industry to industry, or do you have, listen, we work with these platforms and that's it?
Yeah, no, great question. So we only work with Facebook, Instagram, and Google. When I talk about Facebook, Instagram, let's maybe call it Meta, because it's the same thing when it cross-pollinates to the different platforms. But we focus on those two core products. And the reason for that is we like to specialize. We don't want to be a jack of all trades, and that's my thing, is we want to become really good at what we know. So we found that Facebook and Instagram yield the best priced leads. Usually it's the best price leads, but it's also industry dependent. So for example, if you own a steel company, for example, 9 times out of 10, the people aren't really looking for steel on Facebook.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't really use Facebook for that. Same goes for like a plumber or an electrician or whatever. So what you'd do is you'd obviously go over to Google. And essentially, Google becomes a really great resource for those kinds of companies. What's nice about Google, and you'll find that the quality of the leads that come through Google are far superior to Facebook.
No,
Now the whole logic behind that is, when you use Google, you're almost in a research mindset. Your intent is there.
Yes.
If
you're searching for it, it's
yes.
not just popping up.
Yeah. So if you're looking for a plumber, you're going to basically be typing in plumber because you need the plumber there yesterday to fix the leak that you've currently got in your house.
Yes.
You're not necessarily going to go on Facebook and search for that.
No, just scroll and hope a plumber comes on.
Yeah. But I mean, that's why Facebook's really nice for the insurance products. And we don't usually do Google for insurance products because remember, you've got now Old Mutual, Momentum, Hippo.co.za, all of these massive guys that have humongous marketing budgets. Just now, I go put your ad up there in Google, and your budget's gone in quick sticks.
Yes, exactly.
Because at the end of the day, it's another rabbit hole that I can go down, but it becomes so costly. It's a bidding war. So Hippo's happy to pay 10 Rand for a lead. Now you're going ahead and paying 15, and then this guy's paying 20.
And
It
it
spirals. It doesn't make sense. So that's why Facebook's really good, for example, for your industry, is because it makes people think. Scroll and you see, okay, for example, XYZ brokerage, we can get you the best insurance quote for your car. Now, let's say I pay 2 grand on insurance for my car. If I can save $200, I would want to.
Yes.
If I get the same benefit. So you'll find people click on that because they want to save. They want to, so it piques their interest in that sense.
Yes. Okay. Awesome. Now, what is the differences between B2B and B2C? You mentioned a little bit earlier, you focus more on B2C.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people don't really understand exactly the differences. And why is there such a difference? Why do you prefer business to client instead of business to business?
Yeah. So B2B basically means business to consumer. B2C is business to consumer, and B2B is business to business. Now, business to consumer, I'm going to use the example that we have been using for insurance. Life cover, you're a business. So Momentum's the business, and I'm the consumer, and they are selling life cover to me. So that's essentially business to consumer. Business to business is, for example, a business like a fleet management software. Okay, the average Joe who walks on the street does not have a fleet.
Yeah,
okay?
exactly.
He's not going to use a fleet management software. So that's a pure business product. So it's a business who's a fleet management software company selling it to, let's say, XYZ logistics company. Okay. Now, the reason why we don't touch the B2B market is it's a totally different marketing strategy. Now, what it is you basically need to get in front of the decision makers of those specific companies. Now, it's almost like a very compressed sort of marketing approach. You've got a few companies in the country that do logistics, and you need to now touch base and make relationships with those individuals.
Yes.
Now, there's companies, and I've partnered with some of these companies where what they do is they focus purely on that, and that's through, let's say, a LinkedIn approach. Now, I've met this guy's named Sean. He's super smart, and he's come up with a software system that basically does manual outreach for you, but it's automated. So you say to him, I want logistics companies, let's say a supply chain management company or whatever, and I want to speak to, let's say, the warehouse managers, supervisors, all of these kinds of things, and you break down that audience. What he does is he puts that into a software. You then sit with him, and he says, okay, what are the scripts that you want us to send out?
Yes.
Okay. So he'll have script 1, script 2, script 3. If they respond from any of those messages that get sent out automatically, what happens is he then jumps in and starts creating that relationship.
Okay.
So to be honest with you, I don't really have the patience for that. It's not really scalable in my opinion. It is scalable, but it's not for me. It's not for me. Sean, for example, he's a mastermind when it comes to that stuff.
Yes.
So that's not really where I sort of sit. What we do is almost like a more of a mass marketing approach. And what that is, for example, one of our biggest clients is an optometrist with multiple branches across the country. Anyone basically would need glasses.
Yes.
Okay. So you're doing a mass market approach. You're pushing as many ads out to as many people as possible and trying to get the cheapest cost per lead from there.
Yes.
So it becomes a numbers game, you know, and then obviously when they've got a honed in sales team, what they do is based on the numbers, they know what their conversion rates are and all that kind of stuff. They can almost reverse engineer what their revenue is going to be at the end based on the quantity of leads that they've generated, or that what their sort of target is.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's so much that we can still talk about, and we haven't even done our third music break. We just skipped it, so we'll have one final music break. Before we end off, and I'm definitely going to have you back, and we'll have a more of a discussion. But if a client, if somebody who's listening wants to start this marketing journey with you guys, what is the process that they follow? What would happen when they now contact you? They send you a request through your website, or they send you an email. What do you do with that client? What is the process?
Yep. So great question. So we have a discovery call. So as much as we would love to help as many people as possible, physically it's not possible. So we do have sort of criteria that we need to sort of tick the boxes.
Yeah.
We basically sit down with the client on a Zoom call and we just figure out exactly where they're at in their business. For example, we don't necessarily want to work with people who are in financial trouble, because then obviously that boils over to us and it puts enormous pressure on me and the team. And, so over the years, we've basically refined exactly who we want to work with and who we don't necessarily want to work with. And so through that Zoom call, we basically say, okay, this is a good fit for the kind of client that we do want to work with. And then we basically take it from there. So we go through the quoting phase. Then obviously it's the time that we need to get the tech set up. So whether it's through Facebook or Instagram, if we're going to do an on Facebook lead form, then what we need is obviously access to their business manager account and all that kind of stuff. If we're going the landing page approach, we would obviously need a subdomain created on their website with a hosting instance of WordPress on there. We then obviously build out the landing pages and things for the client from there. So it is quite there is quite a big sales cycle, because we've got to get everything sort of ready for the client before we go live.
Yes.
Once we've created everything, what we do is we then send everything to the client beforehand. And from there, they say, okay, I think we've missed the message here. Let's maybe tweak it there. Or spot on, you guys are 100% right. Let's go. So that's essentially the process that we go through.
Okay.
So unfortunately, we can't work with everyone. We do have some sort of vetting criteria, but we do try to help as many people as we possibly can.
Okay. Awesome. Gary, thanks so much for joining us. I really enjoyed our chat. It went by so quickly.
Yeah.
I usually don't even skip for the third song. I usually hold to the songs, but you were you were explaining things so well, I didn't want to interrupt you, so that was awesome. Again, guys, if you want to get hold of Gary, the contact details are on screen. Those of you on social media, on Berg Studio, just go to leadburstdigital.co.za. You can fill in a contact form there, and Gary and his team will be in contact with you as soon as possible. It was really great to see all of you. Those of you on our Berg Studio, we're going to play out with our final song. I'll give Gary the choice of which of the two songs he wants to listen to. Those of you on our social media, we are going to say goodbye, and I will see you again next week. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers, guys.
Financially raw, real, authentic wisdom with Lourens.